Hello and welcome to If These Heels Could Talk. I'm Georgina with Solutions by Georgina.
And I'm Michelle with Bad Cat Digital. And today,
on the one and only super awesome program, we're kind of circling back around if you were listening a couple weeks ago because somebody has received her Harry Potter video game.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts
Thank
Legacy.
you. Oh, part of the
On
topic
PlayStation
today.
5. And this is part of the topic today because I actually got to play a little bit of it. And the thing that was most impressive to me was threading this needle that they had to thread in order for this video game to be successful. Believe it or not, this is not the first time somebody has made a video game with this intellectual property. And believe it or not, they've all been pretty bad. I mean,
well,
some people
are they still here? Even
some people enjoyed some of them, the Lego Harry Potter game, and some of the app games, and
okay,
yeah,
it had a small following.
They had but
they've gained a small.
But the challenge was always that a video game that was set in the Hogwarts kind of universe, right? In that version of a reality, with those logics and those rules, was then beholden to the narrative of the Harry Potter series.
That makes sense. Okay.
So whatever narrative they came up with the game had to fit into the narrative of the series. And the
that
assumption
would actually be really we feel like
it'd be really restrictive. And the assumption was that people would want to play the game as Harry.
Okay.
Right. So or people would want to play the game as one of the chief characters, right? And so you had all of the characters and the whole intellectual property, not just the world, but the characters. The smart thing that this new game does,
yes,
is it pulls all of that out by resetting the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So the game Hogwarts Legacy is set in the late 1800s. It is not a Harry Potter game. It is a Hogwarts Wizarding World game. And I do want to just acknowledge that we are going to be talking about this in a wider context because there is some controversy around the intellectual property, J.K. Rowling, all those kinds of things. And I think it's definitely a debate well worth participating in, listening to, and really kind of engaging with the conversation around J.K. Rowling, around her statements, around transphobia, and around, what actions that you decide to take as an individual can drive kind of actions in the world. So I thought long and hard about engaging in this game. I really did. And I ultimately decided to, we'll see how I feel about that long term, about that decision. I do have to say though, even with all of that, the game it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It is an open world role-playing game, and it is really created for people who play video games, not necessarily for people who are fans of Harry Potter. And that is the smart thing that they did. They created a game for people who play video games using part of the intellectual property. So they use the world, they use Hogwarts, they use the school, they use the spells, they use the internal logic of the world, they use some of the scenery, like the town next to the thing, but that's kind of the creatures, that's kind of it.
So it kind of lends itself, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, this kind of lends itself to the Star Trek realm, or to even the Star Wars type
so
of, where they're started out with a nuclear, you know what I mean?
It starts out with one
stories, characters, those types of things,
right.
and then just
kind of builds from there. And now you've created this world almost like the Avengers and the Marvel kind of universe, or right. So a lot of different stories can come out of that universe. And so when they broke away from the totality of the intellectual property and went with, let's use the world and the logic and not the characters or the narrative, it opened up a whole door, a whole bunch of freedom creatively for them to create something that people could engage in.
So this is why we're having this conversation, is not just to
update
you. No.
Yeah, no, you don't care about my video game habits.
It's to demonstrate though, because we got talking about the fact that this is a great example of repackaging and of what exactly it means when people say content marketing.
Yeah, because content marketing is essentially repackaging core content in a variety of ways, on a variety of channels and a variety of mediums to engage more and more of a wider audience over time. And so it's basically the concept of, we were talking like a manufacturer might spend a great deal of money putting out user guides for their machinery, for example.
Which you almost have to do. Most companies
you're going to have to do,
you're gonna
right?
be doing that.
And so what if you took those user guides and combined the content in them with the top 15 questions that their support team gets asked when people call, and develop 15 videos answering those 15 questions using the content from the support guides. And then what if you take those videos and transcribe them into a blog post or into individual blog posts from an SEO and show the videos and get them with unique and differently written descriptions on YouTube, again for SEO. And then you take all of that and you turn them into frequently asked questions for the website. And then you take those frequently asked questions and turn them into individual LinkedIn posts. And then you take those LinkedIn posts and turn them into an email campaign that links to your user guides.
Yes!
So it's this whole circle, right? But you're using the same core content for all of those things. The how it's presented changes, the trappings change, the lead changes, and the audience changes.
There was the part I really wanted you to point out. As
Yes.
I'm listening to you, and from the coaching perspective, I know that people take in information at multiple levels. They retain it differently, and they're going to search for it differently.
Yep.
And so when you have, as you were describing each level, I'm like, she really, at that point, you are going to actually reach your target demographic. You are going to reach your people when you have taken that information, I love where you point out, this is not piles of work.
No,
this is actually,
it's still work. Like let's
right,
be real.
But you're not, when I think of content, I think about writing it the first time and creation of it.
The thing with content creation, the most exhausting thing is not formatting content.
No.
The most exhausting thing is getting an idea and then developing that idea.
Yeah.
Once you have a core idea and you have like, here's our message. So we just finished a content marketing project for a medical device manufacturer. And their core message was, we help save you the cost of change and the cost of input data. You don't need any more context than that. But these are the two things that we help you with. So we have an infographic that talks about that. We have 4 individual case studies that have graphics in them that reference the infographic. We have a white paper that people can now download because we're sending out emails so that people will download the white paper. So it becomes a lead generation thing. All of those things are supported with LinkedIn posts. Then you have the layer of individual graphics that go out from the infographic, in the email, not in the email, all of those things. And so and then the ads themselves, the ad creative doesn't specify the two costs. It just says it cures your headaches. So as we move this forward, we take that one core idea and we rebuild it in 15 different ways.
Yeah. Because
at the end of the day, even though we're talking to, C-suite, business to business marketing, C-suite decision makers, and technical kind of engineers, individuals engage in content differently.
Yes.
And they run across content in different formats and they hear it differently. Some people will really respond to an infographic. Some people won't. Some people would rather have a video. They'll never read an infographic. Some people will never read a white paper. They would rather read a LinkedIn
live
post.
for that white paper.
And some people will pour over that white paper, print it off, make notes in the margins. Like everybody's different.
Yes.
Right?
And I think so often this is where I recognize with a lot of business owners, because they're not coaches and they're not dealing with people at different levels. I've noticed a lot of business owners are like, well, I just needed to say this because this is how I think.
Right.
And so often I have to remind them, one, you're actually not your target audience. You've been hired because you fixed the problem your target audience can't fix.
Well,
or I'm like, yeah, but you only talked, you literally left 75% of the people off the table. You only brought 25 if we only talk in white paper.
Well, and I think about it like I think about a good website design, because a good website will allow for multiple paths to get from one place to another.
Yes.
So you'll be able to navigate the website through a menu. You'd also be able to navigate the website through breadcrumbs if you really wanted to.
Mhm.
You could also navigate the menu through a sitemap. You could also navigate the menu through, on page links and, pages that
Mhm.
are linked, related pages that are linked together through text hyperlinks or through call to action buttons. All of those things, you want all of those things on a website, because
Yes.
different people will interact with a website in different ways. And yeah, there might be 2 people out of 100 who would dig through the breadcrumbs of your website. But you know what? Why not capture those 2 people, especially when it's so easy to add?
I'm always I'm sure you do this too. When you're talking with potential new customers
Yeah.
and so forth, it's a standard sales question. How did you find me?
Yeah.
What did you? And I am really fascinated. So far, I'd say in the last year and a half, nobody has given me anywhere near the same answer. It
Yeah.
it has been, oh, the videos. Oh, I love the infographics. Oh, the testimonials and the case studies. It has literally been a different thing for each person, which, by the way, their answer helps me understand how to better communicate with them, like their style
Right.
of information
Which is why you
gathering.
asked the question.
Right. Like it's really useful for me, but
Yeah.
it's also really, it helps me stay motivated at taking that content. If I write the blog, okay, now how can I break that up into small videos that will be
Right.
engaging and educational? Then where am I going to put those things?
And the challenge is that yes, the idea from a business perspective, the idea costs money.
Yes.
The generation of the original piece of content costs money, but repackaging it costs money too, whether you're using internal resources like your own team, or you're hiring a vendor, or however you're doing it, it's going to cost money. So that's where the challenge comes in, because people are always looking for ways in business to save money, especially now. And
Yeah.
and so the question becomes, how do we show people the value of this, what's really an omni-channel approach to the content, without people saying something like, well, I didn't get any leads from a LinkedIn post last month, so we're going to stop posting on LinkedIn. Because what they're not understanding is that the funnel of people gathering information, doing research, and then making a decision is no longer a 3-step linear path.
Oh, it's just not.
It's now a circle.
Mhm.
And the thing is,
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
every single one, it's like a spiral.
Yeah.
It's like a spiral
really
into
is.
a decision, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of the people that I talk to, every single one of our clients, every single one of our customers, and every single one of their representatives all shop that way.
Mhm.
And none of them think their clients shop that way.
It is. It's really interesting.
It's really interesting.
And you have, that's part of why we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
This is part of the education of this.
Yeah.
You really,
It does not matter anymore. Like, unless your core audience is 92 years old, bedridden in an assisted living home and relying on their adult children for everything.
Yeah.
Unless that is your core audience, which it is for some people. So,
right. Small group.
Yep. Very
niche,
small group.
Very niche.
Very niche. If that is your core audience, then by all means, stick with the 3-step linear process, because that's what you're going to get. But everybody else asks their friends for a referral on Facebook, or sees a TikTok video and then goes and searches for that product in Google, and then watches and then when the YouTube video for that product comes up, they watch the YouTube video, and then they go back to Google, and then they get served a remarketing ad on a website. A week later, go to a landing page and maybe buy something. And that's the process. That's how I bought my last pair of shoes. That's how I bought my last t-shirt. Like everything that I buy, that's the process.
Yeah.
And so from even for my business, like even when I'm checking vendors, I talk to my friends, but I do it through LinkedIn, or I do it through Facebook, or I do it through Messenger, or I put out a call that says, hey, does anybody know somebody who's good at office cleaning? And I look at all of the recommendations. I go search them all on Google. I read their reviews.
Right.
And then I go, and then I call And
Mhm.
whoever answers the phone first gets the first opportunity. And if I like them, then that's who I go with. And if I don't, then I go to the next
Then
one
you
on the
move on.
list. And the thing is that that's how people buy things. That's how people shop now.
Yeah.
And businesses that shop for other, like for their business, there's usually more than one person involved in that. So it just
Oh,
gets
yeah.
more complicated
Yeah.
and takes longer.
Yeah.
So the thing that blows my mind is that since we all shop this way, why don't we all sell this way?
Why is it so?
Why is it such an effort to convince people
Yes.
that it's not going to be a straight line, that you're not going to be able to tell how many sales you got because of that LinkedIn post? That it doesn't work like that. Just like you're not going to be able to tell how many sales you got because that one sales guy went to that one meeting, that one networking meeting in that one place
Yeah.
one time 4 months ago. You are not going to be able to tell.
The measurables they're not the same. You just can't.
But see, they are though. That's the thing. That's the
they
thing
are,
that kills
but they're
me.
challenge. They don't come from that one spot, though.
Well,
I guess that's my.
I guess what I'm saying is that we expect the measurables to be way different and way more powerful than they are.
That's what I mean. Like we
And-
expect it to say, okay, everybody came from this one bucket.
Yep.
And thereby that. But I know even when they tell me, well, it was from your YouTube channel, I still know that they went to the website.
Yeah.
They've gone because they'll
Yes.
say other things that tell me, oh, you read the white paper.
And here's the thing. At the end of the day, if any one of those things did not mesh with them, they didn't call. And
Right.
you just don't know that they were there.
That's awesome.
You just
Yeah,
don't know.
You missed
But
it.
so what I like to, I had this question last night. You would love this question.
Oh, yeah.
This question last night. I looked up search volume for a search phrase in the area that this client was in. It's a search engine optimization client, and I looked up search volume for one search phrase, a core search phrase, and it was 1,000 searches a month. And his question was, well, if 1,000 people in my area are searching that a month, and I'm ranking number 1, how come I'm not getting 1,000 visits to my website?
Good question.
Well, no, it's not a good question. Don't encourage that question.
What would be a better question? What's the better question?
The better question is, why do I think that every single person is A, seeing the same search results,
Oh, yeah.
B, clicking on the same search results,
Mhm.
C, I'm not making any room for statistical average, any room for anybody to make any decisions along the way, any room for people to not let my page load, people to pick somebody else from the search results, like an ad or somebody else. I'm not leaving any room for any of that to happen. And I'm assuming that every single person who does this is going to do that. And that's such a logical fallacy. I don't even know where to start with it.
Well, it's just like the whole, I can just make one web page that looks one way and I've reached everybody.
And
it's the same. It's under that same umbrella.
And so what
everybody thinks just like me, right?
So right. Well, and that's
the problem.
Exactly the problem. And
Yes.
so I kind of just looked at him and I was like, well, okay, so no. Like I tried to answer, you answer the question, right? And I wasn't like rude or condescending or anything. But then he said, if we added up all of the search phrases that have to do with what I do in this area, what would that number be? And I was like, I can't even begin to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean all of the search phrases? Are you going to quantify that? You want me to quantify that, right? You're asking me to to create the list of those search phrases and then quantify them. And so what I said was, here's the thing though, that's like you asking me how many people 25 years ago picked up the yellow pages and looked for dentists in the yellow pages.
Yeah.
Like I can't possibly begin to answer that question. I can't possibly begin to answer that.
Yeah, it is good.
And that's literally what it is. Yes, we have data, and yes, we have this raw data, and yes, it can be used to make decisions. But if we don't apply critical thinking skills to that data.
Yes, critical thinking skills.
And apply some logic and some strategy, then man, we are just chasing our tails.
And that's the art of content marketing. I want to just that is the art of content marketing. That's why you're in business. That's why you do what you do.
The number of clients that have said after 2 weeks, these ads aren't working, I want to turn them off. And it's like, can you give it a minute? Can you give it a minute for people to learn that you're there? Can you give it a minute for people to learn who you are? One person needs to see a brand 7 times to take action.
And that number by the way, people, has not changed.
No.
In all my years of business, from when
No.
when my mom was in business, like that was the number
Yeah.
at the time. 7 times. People need to be, so that's why you had back in the day.
Yep.
That's why you had business cards. That's why you had pens, notepads, and those kind of things.
Yep.
Like, so that stuff would be
And
billboards
and radio
newspaper,
ads and newspaper ads and magazine
right.
ads and television ads. And
that hasn't changed.
it hasn't changed. And we still use a lot of those things. Like we still use swag. We still use
Yeah.
billboards. We still use, newspaper ads are maybe not so much a thing anymore.
It's one of the ways though that you reach.
Mhm.
It's one of the ways.
But we
you
still
get your
use direct
7
mail.
steps.
We still use all of those things are still really valid ways to get in front of people. But when I think about content,
Mhm.
it's not just the brand mention, right? I'm not trying to just get somebody to learn my brand name.
Can't you make my logo bigger?
That
Sorry.
will go down as my least favorite question on the planet.
To both of us, that's why I said it. I'm like,
Don't even,
oh,
can't you make my logo bigger? The least important thing
Sorry.
on the page to most people is the logo. So,
and not to the business owner. I just
No,
want to say,
no, the
every
business owner,
time
no,
they're
it's the
like,
logo.
The logo. I'm like,
and
no.
I've noticed an inverse rule. I'm going to say this, even though it feels really mean to say
Oh,
it,
be
because I'm
nice.
feeling a little punchy today
Yeah.
because I didn't sleep much last night because I was playing video games all night.
Oops.
One video game all night. But the uglier the logo, the bigger they want it to be. It's like an inverse relationship. If it's actually an attractive logo, they're okay with it being
Yeah.
subtle and like there and not. But the uglier the logo is, the bigger they
the
want
more
it to
out
be.
to date, the more clunky inside. Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's our free little nugget right there.
That's our free little nugget right there. If you really need your logo to be super big, you might want to think about asking somebody about rebranding.
Yes.
But the point though is
Yes.
really with content marketing, I'm not trying to get them to learn a brand. I mean, I'm hoping that they're going to learn a brand.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get them to learn the concept of what the brand is about. And so the unique selling proposition, the chief pain point that they resolve, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
It's not an ad.
What's the problem they fix?
Content marketing is not a series of advertising, but it is a series of providing helpful information to help people make a decision. And in so doing, show people why your brand is helpful.
That was that's perfect right there.
Well, perfect is a big word.
It's perfect for our moment.
It's perfect for our moment.
Perfect.
We'll be perfect for our moment.
It's perfect in this moment.
But I think that's the thing about, like a book to a movie is going to be a challenge for any story, right? There's so many people out there who love books or who like the movie
Well,
version
how many
or this.
people complained about how I remember the first time I'd listened to the Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
By the way, they're fabulous audios.
Yeah.
And then I went to the first movie and went,
where did it go?
Where? What? It was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the best diet I'd ever seen something go on. I was just like, there's so much missing here.
And that,
But that you can't, that would have been months of movie.
But then like I watched a TV series based on a book that shall go unnamed because I loved the book so much. And then the TV series is super loyal to the books, and it's not good.
No,
because the medium the medium is a part of the story is only one part of it. The medium of that story, the channel, the format lends itself to one thing or another. You have
to adapt.
And you have to adapt.
And
you have to adapt to the format. And so when we look at book to movie, that's challenging. When we look at movie to video game, that's challenging too.
Yes.
And when we look at video game to TV series, hello, Last of Us, really challenging.
Yes.
And so when we think about all of these intellectual properties that are getting reused in different formats,
yeah,
because it's ubiquitous now. That's what's happening.
Well, and it's a great example of content marketing. It's just I love that we brought it up today.
Yeah, it's really, and so I think that when I think about how the format has to change,
mm-hmm.
And then you look at that format, that new format, and say, what is the best version of this information in this format?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking a different question than how do I get this new thing to be exactly the same as the last thing, or to restate what the last thing is. No, that's not what you're doing. You might be restating some core concepts, but what is the best way to communicate that core concept on this medium or on this channel or to this audience? And that's the difference.
So as a business owner, I feel like what I want to make sure you come away with is this audience. Like how do you reach multiple audiences, multiple buyers, multiple potential clients? Are you having the conversations in those variety of markets so that they can find you, they can engage with you, they can reach you?
Yeah.
And if you've got amazing clients, like I have some amazing clients that give me feedback about certain, parts that
So
that they
what is
resonate
your
with,
like,
and I appreciate that.
What is your like super secret place that you put content that none of your other competitors do, or very few of your other competitors do?
Dabbling and playing over in TikTok.
Yeah.
Was definitely, and then recognizing that I did not need to leave that. I owned that content.
Right.
And so I took it off of there and I use it actually on
everywhere.
I do.
Yeah.
Because if it engages well over there, which I recognized it did real fast, I went, oh, this is easy and actually engages well with me. So I'm like, that it represents my brand really well. I need to have this everywhere accessible. And I actually have them transcribed to reach that target audience. And they're a minute and a half. So these are not huge transcriptions.
Right.
It's not too challenging.
Yeah.
So
or too expensive.
That also.
Yeah.
So it makes that an easier thing for a solopreneur to engage in.
Yeah.
What do you guys do at Bad Cat? What would you say was your hidden gem?
So my hidden gem is Quora.
I don't know what this is.
Quora.
Oh yeah.
Quora.
Yeah.
It's a question and answer, but Google still crawls all of the content the way that the structure of the website, all of the content is crawled. And they, when you start engaging in questions, the community is really active, and it's kind of like Reddit. It's kind of like
that's
Reddit.
What I was going to say. Okay.
But it's much more professionally focused. If Reddit was Facebook,
this would be the LinkedIn.
Then this is the LinkedIn version. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. And it's really good for people who have professional questions or people who are new in business and are looking for some advice. You can submit questions. You can submit questions to certain individuals whose answers you've liked or you've understood better than other individuals. I really, and none of our competition is there. They don't even have pages.
Nice.
It flies under the radar a lot. And we actually engage with Quora for a lot of our technical clients because it works really, really well as a link building opportunity and as a thought leadership, thing. And we can rewrite and restate frequently asked questions from their website into Quora with very little effort. And very little effort equals very little cost for the client.
I was just gonna say that equals cost.
It's not about our, like, we'll take as much effort as somebody who's willing to pay for, but as we look at some of these things, I mean, video is more and more. I mean, we're recommending to everybody to build video libraries this year. Just even B-roll libraries, because you're going to need it. You're going to need the footage. You're going to need a library of footage.
Yeah.
And so as we look at like avoiding generic content, staying really focused, looking at the best form of that idea on that channel for those people, for that audience, for that time frame, is really the most important part of content marketing. And when I look at how intellectual property is being reused on different channels in the entertainment industry in general.
Yes.
You see a lot of that. I wanted to talk about this because it's one of the, I think, most striking recent examples of a book that turned into a movie that was completely different.
Oh.
I love this book and I really enjoyed the movie as well, even though the stories are
barely recognizable.
Barely recognizable. It was Ready Player One.
Oh,
which is I forgot the author's name, Ernest something.
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg did the movie, but the book is very it's kind of a future thing and almost like a Willy Wonka in a video game kind of thing.
Yep.
Right. And so the main character kind of lives in this virtual reality and is playing this and is trying to kind of play this super hard kind of Easter egg game to, right. That's the whole goal. In the book, the challenges that the character faces are really intellectual. They have to spend a lot of time thinking through the challenges, and a lot of the book and the content about the challenges in the book is like the thought process and the logic of getting through these challenges. The challenges are very word focused. They're very cerebral. They're very philosophical. And the challenges and the time frame of the challenges from the beginning to the end is significantly longer. I'd say maybe the time frame of the book is maybe 18 months, and the time frame of the movie is maybe a month. The movie, however, I mean, how interesting is it to sit and watch somebody think?
Oh no, as you talked about, I'm like, this is not going to translate.
Right. So in the movie, they turn all of these challenges into action sequences.
Sure.
And they're still, the action sequences are still in spirit of, in the world of, and in the spirit of what was done. But there are fewer challenges. They happen in a shorter time frame, and they're action based instead of thought based.
Makes sense.
Because it's a movie.
Right.
And so when I think about how different that is, when I heard the movie was coming out and I had read the book a couple of times at that point, I was like, how are they going to do this? Like, this is going to be kind of a boring movie if they don't do it right. And I love the book. And then I watched the movie. I'm like, okay, that totally makes sense. Good job. Way to keep like the spirit of the book, but completely change it for the medium. That is the thought that I'm kind of leaving with content marketing, because you have to think about the content that you're driving. What is visual and what is written? What is audio visual into the form of video? What is graphically represented? How do pictures play in? Do you need to do a photo shoot? Do you need, like, all of these things are part of this conversation. Content marketing isn't something that you do once and then see how it goes. It is an ongoing cycle. And if you can come up with a message every 6 months for your content marketing, now all of a sudden it turns into something that's like really a robust part of your strategy.
Thank you for adding that in. For those that have stuck with us here.
Yeah, it's a little long. Sorry.
Yeah, but this is really interesting. For those that have, though, that are still here, and we're grateful you are, you just got a great nugget. It's a 6 month.
Yeah. To a year.
Yes.
This is not a short-term thing.
And then you do need to shift it. Like, you do need to have a new topic. You do need to find
But if you create a system in that first topic, you can use that system again with a new core topic.
And that truly, in the coaching world, there are a group of really people that make 7 figures doing coaching. And when it gets down to it, all of them utilize systems like that, and they get them mastered, and they evolve.
Yeah.
New mediums come in, new formats, new opportunities. They adapt quickly and incorporate that into their next cycle. I've watched when
clients ask us, how do you keep on top of all of the different ways of communicating with people, from Facebook to LinkedIn to Instagram to TikTok to Snapchat to Twitter to Reddit to YouTube to a website to email to all of these different ways of communicating with people. How do you stay on top of it? You choose your channels based on the audience of those channels. You choose a single message that you can translate into those channels, and then you format that message for those channels. And that's how you stay on top of it. That is content marketing.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us at If These Heels Could Talk. We'll be back with another great topic. So don't forget to swing back in and listen to us next week. Please have an awesome time.